Okay, I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Picture the scene with me. It's high noon, dead of summer. You're at the zoo.
Oh, I can already smell it.
Right. It's sticky. There's that distinct smell of like popcorn and animal feed just hanging in the humid air. And you're standing shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of strangers, sweating. Maybe you're a little irritable.
The kids are whining for another slushie.
Totally. But everyone is staring at this one grassy enclosure. The sign says, "The Cheetah Run." And there's this buzz.
It's a very specific kind of anticipation, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
we don't go to the zoo just to look at animals sleeping in a corner. We go to witness power.
Yes.
We want to see something dangerous, something that makes us feel a little bit small. We want to see the wild.
We want the thrill. Exactly. So the crowd is buzzing, and out comes the zookeeper. She's got the khaki vest, the megaphone, the whole safari look. She's really peppy. She's hyping up the crowd like it's some kind of game show. And she introduces the star of the show, Minnie.
Who is a Labrador retriever.
Right, a yellow lab. And you can feel the energy in the crowd just plummet. The kids are confused. They're yelling, "Mom, that's a dog. We have one of those at home."
It's the ultimate bait and switch.
It is. But the zookeeper has a script. She explains that Minnie is there to be the best friend and, get this, the emotional support animal for Tabitha, the cheetah.
Hold on. Let's pause on that for just a second, because this is the first breadcrumb in the analysis of the source material we're covering today. The zoo isn't just containing the cheetah. They are actively conditioning it.
What do you mean by that?
They are using a domesticated animal, a creature, literally bred for thousands of years, to please humans, to sit, stay, fetch to model behavior for a wild apex predator. It's weaponized peer pressure.
That is such a creepy way to put it, but you're absolutely right. Be like the lab. Be a good dog. It's so insidious.
Right from the start.
So they do this little warm-up. They have a Jeep with a dirty, faded, pink stuffed bunny tied to the back. Minnie chases it. Everyone claps politely. It's cute. But then the music swells. They do the big countdown, 5, 4, 3, and they open the main gate.
And this is the moment of truth. This is what the crowd paid for.
And Tabitha comes out, and she doesn't run like a dog. She is just a blur of muscle and speed. She's an aerodynamic machine. She locks onto that dirty pink bunny, and she just destroys the distance.
I mean, she's built for exactly that. One single purpose.
He catches it in seconds. The crowd goes wild. They are cheering for the speed, for the ferocity. They got their show.
Of course they did. They saw the spectacle.
But here is where the source material does something brilliant. It shifts the camera angle. We aren't looking at the cheetah anymore. We are looking at the author, Glennon Doyle, who is in the crowd watching the cheetah. And she isn't clapping. She feels sick. She actually describes feeling queasy.
Okay, so why? What did she see that the rest of the crowd missed?
She sees the transaction, she sees the performance, Tabitha catches the bunny, crosses the finish line, and the zookeeper immediately tosses her a store-bought steak.
The reward.
The reward. And Tabitha pins the steak to the ground with what Glennon calls her oven mitt paws, and she just eats it. And Glennon is thinking, this magnificent creature, she creates this thunder with her body. All for a dead steak. All because she's been trained to chase a pink bunny she can never actually catch and kill.
It's the tragedy of potential, isn't it? The author realizes that Tabitha has been scammed. She has traded her wild, dangerous, limitless nature for a secure meal and a patch of grass.
And she doesn't even know it.
And that is the scariest part. Tabitha doesn't know. She realized that if she just remembered who she actually was, if she just woke up for 10 seconds, she could shred that pink bunny, jump the fence, and tear the zookeepers to pieces.
And that is the hook. That's the moment the whole book hinges on, because the author looks at the cheetah, and then she looks at the crowd, and she realizes, we aren't the audience. We are Tabitha.
And that metaphor is going to carry us through this entire deep dive. We are all Tabitha. We are wild things that have been trained to be Minnie. We chase pink bunnies, approval, safety, the perfect body, the right career, the good reputation, down these narrow, pre-cleared paths.
And we settle for the steak. And we wonder why we feel so hungry even when we're full.
Exactly. It's a hunger of the soul, not the stomach.
In the kicker of the story, the part that really gives you chills comes right at the end. The show is over. Tabitha goes into a small fenced field away from the crowd, and the author's daughter, Tish, points at her. Tabitha is stalking the fence line. Her head is high. She looks regal and honestly a little scary.
She's not performing anymore.
No, she's staring out at something beyond the fence that isn't there. And Tish whispers, "Mommy, she turned wild again."
And that's it. That is the core thesis we are diving into today. That moment of looking at your life, the cage, the zookeepers, the stake, and thinking, wasn't it all supposed to be more beautiful than this? That feeling isn't ungratefulness, it's the wild returning.
So let's unpack this properly. Today on the deep dive, we are tackling Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Now, this book blew up when it came out. It was absolutely everywhere. But it's not just a memoir about a woman getting divorced and remarried. It's really a manifesto.
It is. It's a manifesto on how to break out of the cages we didn't even know we were living in.
Exactly. So the mission of this deep dive is to explore exactly how that taming happens, how we get caged by societal expectations.
But more importantly, we're going to look at how to recognize that wild voice inside of us and the 4 specific keys the author lays out to unlock that cage.
And the central theme here, the big shift, is moving from being good, which usually just means compliant, to being free.
Which are 2 very, very different things, as we're about to find out.
So let's start at the beginning. The training.
Yeah.
If we are Tabitha, when did the leash get put on us? According to Glennon's research and her own experience, there's a very specific age when the spark starts to go out.
10.
10 years old. It's so specific. Why 10?
It's a jarring statistic, but the research suggests that 10 is the age where children, especially girls, but boys too in a different way, begin to consciously hide who they are in order to become what the world expects.
It's the beginning of self-consciousness.
Totally. It's the onset of puberty, sure, but it's also the moment that social conditioning kicks into high gear. It's when we learn the rules. It's when we learn to be good girls and real boys.
Glennon talks about this very personally. She says she looks back at photos of herself, and right around 10, the light in her eyes it dims. She says that's when the world sat her down and pointed to the cages. These are the feelings you're allowed to express. This is the body you must strive for. These are the people you should fear.
And that introduction to the cage, the reaction to it can be devastating. For the author, that was the onset of bulimia.
Right. And typically we look at eating disorders as a mental illness, a sickness, which they are, but Glennon reframes it in a really interesting way. She describes her bulimia not as a madness, but as a rebellion.
The rebellion. How so?
It was the only place she could exhale, the only place she could be her true, hungry, messy self. The world was telling her to be small and quiet, so she would secretly be this ravenous, animalistic creature.
So it was a symptom of the wild self trying to claw its way out of the cage.
Exactly. She writes, "Good girls aren't hungry, furious, or wild." So she became animalistic during her binges because it was the only time she refused to comply. She was trying to fit a wild self into a cage made for a good girl, and the only way to do that was to make herself physically small and hide her appetites.
It brings up this really crucial concept of goodness as a cage. We often conflate good with moral, but in the context of this societal training, good often just means quiet. It means pleasing.
Don't make a scene.
Don't make a scene. Don't take up too much space. A good girl smiles. A good girl agrees. A good girl doesn't have inconvenient needs.
And this training, it starts way before 10, really. It's in the air we breathe. And I think to really get from a cheetah in a zoo to our own lives, we have to look at the training itself. And there is this story about the shower bottles that made me laugh out loud, but then I went in my own bathroom and got kind of depressed.
It's the CVS anthropology moment. It's so real.
So the setup is simple. She's at a face wash. She goes into her kid's bathroom to borrow some soup. She has a son and a daughter. And she looks at the rim of the tub, and she just notices the packaging.
And this is where marketing tells us who we are supposed to be before we even know who we are.
On her son's side, the bottles are aggressive, they're militaristic, the colors are, red, gray, blue, and the text, 3X bigger, armor up, drop kick dirt, and my absolute favorite, slam odor with a folding chair.
Slam odor with a folding chair. Just think about the sheer violence inherent in that imagery for a hygiene product.
It's absurd.
It's framing the simple act of washing your hair as a combat sport. It's telling this little boy, you are a soldier, you are a conqueror, you are here to dominate your environment, even if that environment is just your own body odor.
But is it that deep? I mean, really? Or is it just silly marketing for teenage boys? Maybe boys just think wrestling is cool.
Well, if it were just the boys' products, maybe we could write it off as silly funs. But you have to look at the contrast to understand the programming. You have to see what was on the daughter's side.
Okay, fair point. It was a completely different universe. The bottles were pink, purple with soft curves. And the words alluring, radiant, gentle, touchable, light.
Touchable. That is one that sends a shiver down my spine every time.
It's really creepy when you stop and think about it.
It's an instruction. The boys' bottles have verbs. They are about doing. Kick, Slam, armor up. He is the protagonist of the action. The girls' bottles have adjectives. They are about being. Be radiant, be alluring, be touchable.
Be an object.
She is being positioned not as the actor, but as the object to be acted upon, to be touched.
So before they even put their clothes on for school, the boy is prepping for war and the girl is prepping to be a prize.
Exactly. This isn't accidental. This is the air we breathe.
Yeah.
And if you breathe it in for 10 years,
You start to believe that your value lies in being touchable and pleasing, not in being powerful. You learn that your job is to be watched, not to move. You become the scenery.
and that specific conditioning leads directly to a loss of instinct. We stop trusting our own bodies and we start looking outward for permission. There is a story about a gathering of teenagers in her living room, the pizza story, that illustrates this so perfectly it's almost painful.
Oh, this one is so relatable. Okay, so her son and his friends are watching a movie, and the girls are there too. Glennon pops her head in and asks a really simple question. Is anybody hungry?
And I want you to pay attention to the difference in reaction.
Huh.
It is immediate and it is stark.
The boys don't even look away from the TV. They immediately yell, yes!
They look inward. It's a simple process. They check their biological reality. Am I hungry? They get a yes signal and they state their need. Simple, efficient, done.
But the girls, silence, total silence. Glennon describes it as telepathy. They start scanning each other's faces. They're polling the group without words.
The fear is palpable. The fear of being the only one. The fear of having a need that the group doesn't share.
It's the fear of being too much. So finally, a spokesgirl is elected through this silent process, and she looks at Glennon and says, we're fine.
They looked outward. They consulted the committee. And this is the core of it. We are trained to forget how to know when we are hungry because we are so busy trying to figure out if we are allowed to be hungry.
Or if being hungry in this moment makes us high maintenance or bad.
Exactly. It's the constant suppression of the self in favor of the consensus.
It's like they need a permit to eat pizza. Do I have enough consensus credits to be hungry right now? It sounds ridiculous, but we do it all the time.
We do. And while pizza is a low-stakes example, that suppression mechanism gets really dangerous when the stakes are higher. It's not just about pizza. It's about enduring pain because you think you're supposed to. And this brings us to the story of her friend Ashley in the hot yoga class.
This one is visceral. I was sweating just reading it. It's so uncomfortable.
So Ashley goes to this hot yoga class. The instructor has this very serious tone, and she says, you can't leave this room. Stay strong. This is the work.
Yeah.
It's framed as this noble challenge.
Right. And Ashley starts feeling sick, like really sick. Her vision is going black. She is terrified. She spends 90 minutes thinking she might pass out or actually die. But does she leave?
No.
She stays because she was told to. She stays because leaving would be weak or disruptive. She's being a good student.
And the second the class ends, she runs out and vomits all over the hallway. And she has this massive realization while she's on her hands and knees, wiping up her own sick. She thinks, the door wasn't even locked.
That line just hits so hard. The door wasn't even locked.
It's a metaphor for so many aspects of our lives, isn't it? We stay in marriages that are making us physically ill. We stay in jobs that are destroying our mental health. We stay in religious communities that shame us into silence.
And we stay because we think there's a rule saying we can't leave.
We think staying strong means enduring unnecessary suffering. We think the door is locked, but the door isn't locked. We're just so well trained to stay on the mat.
And that connects right back to the idea of being good. A good student stays in class even if she's about to faint. A good woman doesn't make a scene. But a free woman...
A free woman listens to her body when it says, I'm going to pass out, and she walks out the damn door.
Exactly. But breaking that kind of lifelong training requires a catalyst. You usually don't just wake up one day and decide to be wild. Something has to shake the cage.
Something has to let the snow and the snow globe settle.
Right. And for Glennon, that catalyst came in the middle of what looked like a perfect life. You have to remember the context here. She had written Love Warrior, which was this huge bestseller and Oprah's book club pick, about redeeming her marriage after her husband's infidelity.
She was the poster child for making it work. She was the ultimate good Christian wife. She had literally written the book on how to stay.
She had won the game. She had the career, the famous husband, the beautiful kids, the redemption arc. But she describes this feeling of electric restlessness, like constant thunder or simmering water just under her skin. She wasn't happy. She was just efficient.
Performing. She was performing the role of the happy, redeemed wife.
She uses the metaphor of the snow globe. I love this visual. She says she felt like she was living inside a beautiful snow globe, but there was a dragon in the center.
And the snow represents the distraction.
All of it. The busyness, the noise, the drama, the addiction. She says we keep our lives shaken up, swirling with snow, so that we don't have to look at the dragon in the middle, because the dragon is the truth.
And the truth is often terrifying.
For a long time, she just kept shaking that globe. But then she started to let the snow settle. She was reading a poem in the bathtub one night, and she realized what her dragon was. The poem was about a secret life. And she realized her secret was that she was gay, that she found women infinitely more compelling and beautiful than men.
And what did she do with that realization?
She just thought, well, maybe in another life, and tucked it away.
Maybe in another life.
Yeah.
That is the phrase of someone who has accepted the cage. It's the belief that your current reality is the only option, even if it doesn't fit your soul. It's resigning yourself to the stake.
But then came the moment, the there she is moment. This is the catalyst. She's at a literary event in Chicago to promote the book about saving her marriage.
The irony is just dripping from that scene.
It's almost cinematic, and Abby Wambach walks into the room.
Now, for context, Abby Wambach is a soccer icon, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a World Cup champion, a force of nature. But Glennon doesn't really know sports. She just sees this woman across the room.
And she says she stood up, and her arms just opened wide, involuntarily, like a magnetic pull. And a voice inside her, clear as a bell, said, "There she is."
It's so important to distinguish what that voice was. In her religious upbringing, she might have looked for a voice from the sky, a booming voice from God. But she says this wasn't a voice from God out there. This was something else.
It was the voice of her own wild self, the girl from before she was 10, taking over the controls for the first time in decades.
It wasn't an external command. It was an internal recognition.
Exactly. She says, the wild isn't something you find, it's something you remember. And when she saw Abby, she remembered who she was. It wasn't about Abby saving her. It was about Abby being the mirror that reflected her true self back to her, the self she'd buried at age 10.
And this leads us into the practical part of the deep dive. Because most of us aren't going to have a dramatic moment where a gold medalist walks into a ballroom and changes our lives.
Right. That's probably not happening for most of us.
But we all have that cage. We all have that feeling of restlessness. So the real question is, how do we get out? The source material outlines 4 distinct keys to freedom.
From cage to wild. Let's look at key number 1, feel it all.
This is the absolute foundation.
Yeah.
And it is the exact opposite of what our culture teaches us. We are taught that the goal of life is to be happy. If you are in pain, something is wrong. If you are sad, fix it, numb it, get over it.
Glennon talks about her early sobriety. She's sitting in a recovery meeting, just 6 days sober, and she feels like she's skinless, just raw nerve endings. And she tells the group, I think I'm doing life wrong because it hurts so much.
Which is what we all think. This much pain can't be right.
Exactly. And a woman there tells her something that completely reframes it. She says, you're not doing life wrong, you're doing it right. Doing it right just hurts sometimes.
Wow. What a release that must have been to hear.
It's such a relief. Feelings are for feeling. We spend so much money and time and energy trying to numb the pain. The drinking, the scrolling on our phones, the shopping, the overeating. We treat pain like a mistake to be corrected.
But the source material argues that pain is the fuel of revolution. It's the engine of change. She calls it being fireproof.
I love that concept. What does she mean by that?
The idea isn't that you won't burn. It's that you can burn and live. If you refuse to sit in the fire of your feelings, if you numb out every single time it gets hot, you never transform. The fire is what forges you into something new. Numbing prevents you from becoming.
So by avoiding the pain, you're also avoiding the growth that comes from it.
Precisely. There's this beautiful story about the ache. Her grandmother Alice is dying, and Glennon has to go say goodbye. And normally her instinct would have been to numb herself against that pain. But this time, she stays in it, she sits by the bed, she feels the grief wash over her.
That's incredibly hard to do.
It is. But she has this realization. She realizes that the ache, the grief, isn't a flaw. It's a meeting place. It's the place where she connected with her mother, with her grandmother, with every human being who has ever lost someone they loved. She realized that by feeling the pain, she wasn't alone. Numbing isolates us. Feeling connects us.
So key 1 is stop numbing. Stop running. Feel it all. The pain, the joy, the boredom, the fear, it's all just information.
which leads directly and necessarily to key number 2, be still and know.
Okay, so we've felt the pain, we stopped numbing. Now we move to key number 2, be still and know. And I have to be honest with you, this is where I usually get a little skeptical. When people start talking about inner voices and knowing, I start thinking about crystals and horoscopes.
Yeah, and that is a completely fair defense mechanism. We live in a data-driven world. We want spreadsheets for our feelings, not, mystical guidance. We want peer-reviewed studies for our life choices.
Exactly. Glennon talks about Googling her own life, and I relate to that so hard. She describes sitting at her computer at 2 in the morning typing into the search bar. What should I do if my husband is a cheater but also an amazing dad? She is asking the internet to solve the deepest dilemma of her heart.
And that is the symptom of the taming. We are trained from birth to believe that the answer is always outside of us. We trust the doctor, the priest, the parent, the expert, the algorithm. We trust everyone except ourselves.
So how do we switch that back? Because if I just sit in silence for 10 minutes, I don't hear deep wisdom. I hear my grocery list. I hear my anxiety about a deadline. I hear that annoying song that's stuck in my head.
You're not alone in that. She describes all of that noise as the surface water. It's choppy, it's loud, it's chaotic. The knowing is deep underneath that. And to get there, she had to get really practical. She literally started sitting in her closet.
In her closet, among the laundry.
Among the dirty towels and the shoes. It was the only place she could be totally alone. She committed to 10 minutes a day. And the instruction is crucial. You don't try to find an answer, you just sit. You breathe. You sink.
You sink past the noise.
You sink past the easy thoughts. Past the I should do this, past the he will be mad if I do that, past the opinions of others. You wait until you feel a physical sensation. She describes it as warm liquid gold in her belly.
Warm liquid gold. It sounds nice, but what does it actually feel like? Is it a voice? Is it a thought?
She's very clear about this. It's not a voice of God booming from the clouds. It's a nudge. It's that instant pre-verbal sense of this is right or this is wrong. It's the feeling you get in your body before your brain starts making excuses and justifications.
Oh, I think I know that feeling. It's the feeling I get when I agree to go to a party I really don't want to go to. My gut just sort of drops for a second, but then my brain immediately jumps in and says, oh, but you should go. It'll be good for networking. Don't be rude.
Precisely. The gut drop is the knowing. The networking excuse is the training. Key number 2 is about relearning to trust the gut drop more than the excuse-making brain.
That's a huge shift.
It is. And here's the catch, and this is why people hate this key. The knowing doesn't give you a 5-year plan.
It doesn't, but that's what I want.
I know. The knowing only gives you the next right thing. It's like a flashlight in a foggy forest. It only shows you the next 3 feet of the path. Make the call, send the email, rest. It won't tell you if the divorce will work out in 10 years. It just tells you if you need to leave the room right now.
That is terrifying. We want the map. We want the guarantee.
We want the map because we want safety. The knowing doesn't offer safety. It offers truth. And sometimes the truth is the most unsafe thing in the world.
Okay, so we feel it all. We get quiet to hear the knowing. And now we have key number 3. Dare to imagine.
This is the bridge. This is how you get from where you are to where you want to go. We know what we don't want. That's the discontent. That's the not this feeling. But how do we get to this instead?
We have to use our imagination, but not in a childish, daydreamy way. Glennon goes right back to Tabitha the cheetah. Tabitha is stalking the fence line. She has never seen the wild. She was born and raised in the zoo. But somehow she remembers it. She can imagine it.
She calls this the unseen order. The idea that we all carry a vision inside us of a life that is truer and more beautiful than the one we are currently living. We look at our marriage and think, it should be more intimate than this. We look at the world and think, it should be kinder and more just than this. That's not just a wish. She argues it's a blueprint.
So that ache for more isn't a sign of being ungrateful. It's a sign of our imagination trying to show us what's possible.
Exactly. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the truest, most beautiful story I can imagine for my life? Not for someone else's life, for mine.
What does that look like in practice, though?
She gives these amazing examples of women she's helped with this question. There was one woman named Sasha whose marriage was cold and distant. She asked herself that question, and she wrote down a story of a beautiful marriage, what it would feel like, what they would talk about. She showed it to her husband, and just the act of imagining it and sharing it sparked a real change.
But there's a harder example, too. Danielle, this part of the book just broke me. Her son was dying.
It's a brutal story.
And Glennon asked her that same question. What is the truest, most beautiful story you can imagine?
And Danielle wrote back, I can imagine a million happier stories, but I cannot imagine a truer or more beautiful story than the one I am living right now, holding my dying son.
That just gives me chills. So imagination isn't about fantasy or escaping reality. It's about finding the deepest, most profound truth of your current reality. Sometimes the truest story is heartbreaking, but facing it with presence and love is what makes it beautiful.
So imagination isn't, I wish I won the lottery. It's, what does the truest version of me look like in this exact situation?
Uh,
It's about bringing that unseen order, that blueprint, into the visible world.
But, and this is the scary part, you can't bring the new order in without getting rid of the old one. Which brings us, inevitably, to key number 4, build and burn.
And this is where the fear really kicks in. Because construction requires destruction. You cannot have the new life without letting the old one burn.
We need to talk about the cost of this, because key number 3 was imagining this beautiful new life. That sounds lovely and safe. But key number 4 is where the rubber meets the road. Build and burn.
Construction requires destruction. That is the physics of the universe. You can't build a new house on a plot of land until you tear the old one down.
But let's be really real about this. Burning isn't just a metaphor. In Glennon's case, burning the old life meant blowing up a marriage that everyone, including Oprah, thought was healed. It meant disappointing her parents. It meant risking her career as a Christian mommy blogger. It meant people hating her.
It meant stepping out of the cages of expectation. And she identifies these cages as memos, like these invisible inter-office memos we all received when we were children, telling us how to behave.
And a big part of build and burn is identifying those memos and consciously setting them on fire.
Let's talk about a big one, the selfless woman memo.
Oh, yeah. The idea that a good woman is selfless, she always puts others first.
She has a line that's just devastating. She says, "Selfless women make for an efficient society, but not a beautiful one. We need women who are full of themselves."
Full of themselves. We're taught that's the worst thing a woman can be.
But what if full of herself just means full of her own truth, her own knowing, her own imagination? A woman who is empty can't give anything real. A woman who is full can overflow.
Let's connect that to the Martyr Mom memo, because I think this is the one that keeps the most women trapped.
It's a powerful one. The memo says, a good mother essentially ceases to exist. She gives all her time, all her energy, and all her passion to her children. She's a candle that burns itself out to light the way for her kids.
And society applauds that. Oh, she's such a selfless mother. We put that on Mother's Day cards.
We do. But Glennon asks the dangerous question. Do we actually want that for our children? If I model for my daughter that being a woman means disappearing, then I am teaching her to disappear.
Whoa. Okay, so by suffering for them, we are actually training them to suffer.
Exactly. We are passing the torch of martyrdom from one generation to the next. Glennon argues that a responsible mother doesn't slowly die for her children. She shows them how to be fully alive. She burned the memo that said love is self-sacrifice and built a new belief. Love is self-honoring.
That sounds great on a deep dive, but in practice, in the day-to-day, that means telling your kids, Mommy is going on a date with a woman, or Mommy is going to lock the door and write for an hour and you can't come in. That's hard.
It is incredibly hard. That's why she calls it the burn. You have to be willing to be called selfish. You have to be willing to disappoint people. You have to be willing to be called bad. You have to accept that people who loved you for your compliance might hate you for your freedom.
That connects right back to the beginning. The zookeeper loves the compliant Labrador. The zookeeper is terrified of the cheetah. When you start burning memos, you are turning back into the cheetah. And people get scared.
But the alternative is staying in the cage and eating the store-bought steak for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And once you've seen the wild, the steak just tastes like ash.
And then there's the broken family memo. This is the one that kept her in her unhappy marriage for a long time. The idea that a whole family is 2 parents in one house, no matter the cost to their souls.
She redefines this completely. And it's so powerful. She says a broken family is not one that has been rearranged through divorce. A broken family is a family where any member has to break themselves into pieces to fit in.
That's a crucial redefinition.
If the mother has to break her spirit to stay in the marriage, the family is already broken. A whole family is one where everyone is free to be themselves, even if that means divorce, even if that means a new structure, wholeness over togetherness.
So build and burn is about looking at your deepest beliefs, about God, about family, about womanhood, and asking, is this true for me? Or is this just a memo I got when I was 10? And if it's just a memo, you light a match.
It's the controlled forest fire that allows for new, healthier growth.
So we've gone through the training, the catalyst, and the 4 keys. What does the result look like? What is this final section? Living free.
Well, it starts with redefining what it even means to be human. There's a fantastic story about an interview she did with Oprah.
The queen herself, the ultimate zookeeper in some ways.
That's an interesting take. So Oprah is reading from Glennon's earlier book, and she reads a line where Glennon wrote, "I was born a little broken." And Oprah looks over her glasses and asks, "Do you still believe that?"
And what does she say?
Glennon realizes in that moment, no, she doesn't. She spent years thinking she was broken because she was sensitive, because she felt too much, because she struggled with addiction. But then she rethinks the definition of the word. Broken means does not function as designed. And humans are designed to feel pain. We're designed to envy, to regret, to love, to lose. So if you are feeling all those things, you aren't broken. You're functioning exactly as designed. You are a perfect human.
So being human isn't being broken. Being human is feeling everything.
She threw away the idea of the perfect woman ghost she was chasing her whole life. She realized she is flawless precisely because she is fully human with all its messiness.
She connects this to the Mona Lisa, which I thought was a really interesting leap. She went to the Louvre, saw the painting, and didn't really get the hype at first. Then someone explained the theory behind that mysterious smile.
That it's not a simple smile.
No, the theory is that the smile is half joy, half grief. That the woman in the portrait had recently lost a child, but had also just given birth to a new one. She refused to smile fully for the painter because she wanted the whole truth of her life on her face.
The beauty and the pain together.
And Glennon realizes the Mona Lisa is the patron saint of honest, resolute, fully human women. She's not smiling to please you. She's not performing. She's just being.
And that leads to the ultimate shift in the book. The big takeaway. The move from good to free.
Right. Glennon updates a famous quote. The author John Steinbeck said, "Now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good." Glennon changes it. She says, "Now that we don't have to be good, we can be free."
Because good is still a cage. It's a slightly larger, more comfortable cage, but it's still a cage. Good is still asking, am I pleasing the zookeeper? Am I following the rules?
And free is asking, what?
Free is asking, what does the wild inside of me require in this moment?
And to wrap up this whole free concept, we have to tell the Adam Levine and Alicia Keys story. It's just too perfect.
It really sums up the entire philosophy in one sentence.
So the setup. Adam Levine walks into Alicia Keys' dressing room. Now, Alicia Keys had made this big public announcement that she wasn't wearing makeup anymore. She's going all natural. But when Adam walks in, she's putting on lipstick.
And he calls her out on it. He says, oh, I saw Alicia Keys doesn't wear makeup. He's trying to catch her in a contradiction.
And she just turns around, lipstick in hand, and says, "I do what the fuck I want."
And there it is. That's the whole book.
That is freedom.
It is. Because freedom isn't swapping one rule for another. It's not swapping the rule you must wear makeup for the new enlightened rule you must never wear makeup. That's just a different cage.
It's just a hipper cage.
Exactly. Freedom is the ability to decide in every single moment what is true for you right then. Maybe today it's lipstick. Maybe tomorrow it's a bare face. It's trusting yourself more than any external rule book.
I do what I want. It's the ultimate declaration of the knowing.
So if we look at the whole arc of this deep dive, we start as Tabitha, chasing the pink bunny of approval. We get caged by the age of 10. We learn to numb the pain of the cage. Then something wakes us up. A catalyst.
And we start using the keys.
We start to feel, we get still to know, we dare to imagine a new life, and we find the courage to burn the old one down to build it. And the result is, we are free.
It's a lot of work, though. It's not the easy path. The zookeeper path is easier in the short term. You get the steak, you get the applause.
You get the safety, but you stay in the cage, and you miss your own life. That's the real cost.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought, one last question to chew on. The author asks us to look at that pink bunny.
The dirty, faded one tied to the back of the Jeep.
Look at your life right now. What are you chasing? Is it a promotion? A specific number on the scale? The approval of your mother-in-law? Is it being seen by everyone as a good person?
And then ask yourself the hard question. Did I choose this, or was it tied to a Jeep by someone else to keep me running on a pre-approved track?
And here's the provocative thought for you to take with you. What would happen if you just stopped? What if for one day you stopped chasing, turned away from the track, walked over to the fence, and just stared out at the horizon? What if you tried to remember who you were before the world told you who to be?
You might find that you're a goddamn cheetah.
You might. And that might be a little scary for you and for the people around you, but it sure beats chasing a fake rabbit for the rest of your life.
It certainly does.
Thank you for diving deep with us today. Go find your warm liquid gold. We'll see you next time.